All right, everybody. Hey, welcome to Stream Like a Boss TV. I'm Tanya Smith, and we are super excited to bring to you a special guest this evening. Jim is going to be sharing some tips and we're just going to be having discussion. It's going to be a lot of fun, but talking about human connection. And we're also going to talk about a platform that he happens to be an affiliate manager for called Relatable. So I'm super excited and thrilled about that. Now, if you haven't been to the show before, Stream Like a Boss TV focuses on how you can actually leverage live stream marketing so that you can stand out online, serve more people, and sell more of your services. And I get a chance to every now and then bring on special guest experts that have knowledge in the field of video, digital marketing, email marketing, you name it, anything that touches this space that we're all in to help us to be more visible and to be able to grow our audiences responsibly. And so I feel like this conversation we're going to have is going to be perfect for that. And I cannot wait to introduce Jim to you. I see a couple of folks that are in the house already. So welcome. Thank you for showing up. If you have never been to the show before, I want you to type in hashtag newbie. And if you have been here at least once, you're now family. So you get to type in hashtag OG. Hashtag OG. And I love that I'm seeing some folks that are OGs in the house. So I definitely will recognize you all in just a couple of seconds. As a matter of fact, we're not even going to do our little, mini intro transitional video. I just want to bring Jim on, Jim of Fusion Marketing. So are you ready, y'all? Let's give him a big welcome. So make sure you say hello in the comments. What's up, Jim?
It's great to be here, Tanya. Thanks so much for having me.
I gotta give you
I
some
think we were
applause.
talking, I think we were talking, I think we met each other at Creator Camp last year, but neither one of us made it this time. We heard they had a great time. So shout out to all the eCam fam. Hopefully there'll be a few of them will pop in because
Yes.
this is being done on eCam and it looks amazing. You do an amazing job.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I do see a few folks from eCam or that are part of the eCam family, should I say. Let me go ahead and pop up some comments and say hello to some folks. So, first of all, I know this is your buddy and mine too, Chris Stone in the house. What's up, OG? And then I see Roy Richardson, who did a recap about eCam and the Creator Camp, actually, and I attended some of that. So, good to see you here, Tech Troublemaker. I love, love, love. Let's see. Erica Bates, OG. And then Gabe also is in the house. So we've got some folks who we know and love that are saying hello. Everybody give Jim some love. Jim, let's talk. Let's talk. I want to talk about you first, if that's okay.
That's okay. It's, as you know, being married to a Marine as well, that's not always easy for us to talk about ourselves, but we'll go for it.
It is so true. It is so true. Look, Jim and I hit it off right away at Creator Camp. One of the things he didn't know, I don't think he knew that my husband is also a Marine. And so it's interesting because we were just talking a little bit ago about where you both were stationed. And so there could have been a time for you to cross paths. Who knows? I'll have to ask him.
Yep.
But I am familiar with the whole quietly confident nature of you. And I'm still going to ask you anyway. What is one thing? First of all, tell us a little bit about who you are. But I want you to end with one thing that's not in your bio that you feel comfortable sharing with people.
Okay. I can do that because there's a lot that's not in my bio. But yeah, so I have been doing digital marketing since about 2016. Retired from the Marines in 2009 as a lieutenant colonel, and I was in logistics and contracting and financial management. And what was kind of cool is that I helped stand up what's now known as the Marine Corps Special Operations Command. The headquarters was in Camp Lejeune. And so I got to do a lot of really neat things and, met a lot of people that you hear about in the news. And as I always tell my wife, I know things, but I can't tell you because I'd have to kill you.
Well,
Yeah. So those are those things that go to the grave with you at this point. But I think what's not in my bio that I'm extremely excited about is a little bit over 6 months ago, I became a grandfather for the first time. And so my grandson, Luca Oppenheimer, and another fun fact, his father is his great great uncle is the Oppenheimer.
What?
So, yeah, yeah. So, my
Oh,
daughter's
wow.
trying to marry into potential smartness down the road, but they're Air Force family. They're out at Travis Air Force Base in California. So, looking forward to getting to see them again soon. And it's exciting to be a grandpa. Gives you a different perspective on things, especially in today's world.
What's one thing that's changed about you since you've met your grandchild?
Um, you know, I'm excited to see him grow, and I'm looking forward to spending more time with him. But I also think it's that perspective of like, you know, what I was like when I was a parent, when my kids were that age, and just thinking of how they're going to go through all those things. And we got to give them that space to grow themselves and not try to be, I guess, helicopter grandparents.
Right. Exactly. Well, I wouldn't know yet because I'm not a grandparent yet, but I've seen your beautiful pictures. So, how exciting. And the connection to Oppenheimer, that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
Very
and it,
interesting.
yeah, and then my sister's actually married to it's a Sherman, and it's related to, and it's funny living in Atlanta, the Sherman that you know marched to the sea.
Get out of here. So, there's a lot of history in your
A
family
lot of history.
bloodline,
Yeah,
is what I'm hearing. Okay.
yeah. I had no idea that's what was going to happen. So,
So, you
but
know
yeah,
what? Speaking of those connections, I know that's what we're going to talk a little bit about tonight. We're talking about human connection. And so, what I am curious about, which I think others will be curious about too, is what inspired you, first of all, to be in the space of digital marketing? And what does human connection mean to you, especially as it relates to that specific world? Because right now, everybody's leaning into bots and automation.
right,
And hey, I don't want to be the one that's out there shaking hands and greeting babies. Let me just send my bot. Let me send my chat bot. What
right.
is your take on that? And how, what's your interest in human connection as it relates to that world of digital marketing? What does that mean?
Yeah, so I think it's funny because people maybe see my tagline of marketing the Marine Corps way, and one thing that I struggled with this for a while, and I'm sure your husband can relate as well, is when you leave the military on active duty, it's like you feel like, oh well, now I've got to be this civilian. Well, I had all this leadership experience working with teams, helping people, become successful. And so that's what I carried over into the digital marketing space. And so when I'm working with clients or even just working with other people that are trying to get better, that's what drives me is to want to see other people succeed. Um, another little fun fact even is, and I didn't realize this until a good friend of mine who's a retired sergeant major, but the current sergeant major of the Marine Corps was lance corporal in my company office when I was a captain in Okinawa, and he's now the sergeant major of the Marine Corps. And I had told him as a captain, because he relayed this to my friend, that I was the first, I guess, leader that's told him, it's like, hey, you could be whatever you want to be. I encouraged him to even become an officer, and he said nobody had ever encouraged him like that. And so when I got into digital marketing, part of it is I almost was a computer science major way back when I was in school,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't like how they just sit in their rooms coding all the time. So I've always liked technology. And so when I was doing government contract consulting, I started to run into people that were doing, social media. And I started to look at it and I'm like, well, that's not really that difficult. And I was a business major. A lot of it is just common sense. And so I said, I'm going to start doing that. And I had joined this group that you may be familiar with. It's called BNI. And that's really where started to learn about building know, like, and trust, because we don't always learn that in the military. but just the process of getting to know people one on one, getting to know the little things, things that as you and I get to know each other better, those are things that I will remember, and I know you as well, that AI can't do, right? And
Hmm.
so I think that we're getting, I know some of us, not all of us, we're getting tired of that whole perspective of, oh, let's just use AI. It's the easy button. It can throw out stuff, but it doesn't know your voice. It doesn't know Tanya. It doesn't know about the things going on, off camera, if you want to talk about that. And so I think building human connection is that one great thing that we still have. And, even our friend Jeff C talks about, I mean, sure, you can create a video avatar, but a video avatar is not going to be able to have a conversation like we're having because it's just not built that way. And I hope it never is.
Yeah. I don't know if it will ever replace, like you said, I don't know that it can or that we would ever want it to replace the human interaction that we get to have. There's just so much to, there's so many different anomalies. There's so many things that you never get to know about a person. Like the conversation we had before this even started, before the show started. I would never expect a bot to be able to have that type of discussion with my guest
Right. Right.
or to have the
Oh, yeah.
heart, right? So that
Yep.
is really interesting. I'm seeing some comments, but I don't know yet that I see questions. I think there's people hamming around in in the comment feed. Although Debbie says agreed, she agrees that there's never going to be a replacement for human connection and interaction. Yeah.
Yep.
She said
Yep.
agreed to heart and human connection. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I told you, and maybe I won't say what year, but tomorrow I'm going in person with my wife to my high school reunion. Why? Because I want to see some of those classmates that, in some cases I maybe haven't seen in 20 plus years. But we've connected because of social media. But it's just interesting to get to see how people, I think most of us change as we get
Yep.
older. Not all of us, but most of us. I know I'm different than when I was 18 years old, graduating from high
No.
school,
Mm-mm.
just a little bit.
Somebody said the other day, Jim, they were like, I look at you and it just seems like you just don't change. I said, man, but I feel it. I
Oh
feel the
yeah,
change. I may not look the change, but I feel the change.
yes, yes,
So, talk to me about I know that relatable is something that you've gotten into. What
right.
is relatable? What does this have to do with bringing the two things, the digital marketing and the whole people connection together? What is that about?
Right. So relatable is really a new category design. And if you've read the Snow Leopards or there's some other books, it's a brand new category. It's not just interactive video. It's interactive video relationships because what it allows you to do is to create a video. And as you saw, I created one. If people want to go over and jump on LinkedIn, you'll see I made a post. If you watch that video, inside of it, there's a reminder that you could click and add to your calendar to watch this show. There's another reminder for the replay. But inside of that, we can now interact, right? I can set up text messaging. I can create links for you to learn more. I can, but I'm getting to know you because if you opt in, I'm getting that information and I know what you specifically uh, are interested in or how you think about what we have going on. And so it's really to build that one-to-one relationship, or as like Peter, the founder, likes to say, it's like having a coffee chat with, 100,000 people in theory, but each one of those is unique. And so the beauty of the interactive video is it is allowing you to build that relationship because based on the responses, I can create other relatables that kind of go based on how you're interacting with me through my video.
Oh,
And so it's really what we're excited about, and especially when you think about like the space we're in as podcasters, live streamers, even as events, is you can create that first video, get people to get it on their calendar, and then, okay, they didn't get it. So then you can say, hey, here's a reminder, here's a link, but I'd like to know afterwards if you want, I'm going to send you another video that's going to ask you for your feedback on the show. What did you like about the show? Would you like to, what other guest would you like to see? And so we're really creating that interaction. We also have the ability, each video has a unique QR code. And
Oh.
so this is where it's different. So let's say, and even the video I did with us the other day has a QR code. If I decided, you know what, I need to change the links, I need to change the video, I don't have to change the QR code. It is, you know, married to that. So think of it as a book author. Think of it as somebody as a flyer. I've actually got it on one of my business cards now that when you scan that QR code, there's this interactive video popping up, and I'm saying, in this case, it's for what I do with the American Legion. It's like, hey, it's great to meet you through the American Legion. I'm the vice commander for community relations. If you'd like to learn more about what we do, I'm going to have some links at the end of the video where you can find out more, or you can also email me, you can text me. And so if I decided I wanted to change that video or change what is in the back end,
Hmm.
I can do that, right? I don't
I'm
have
gonna
to
try to
go,
see if I can pull up the one that you actually did for me. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up
yeah.
so
But
that people can see it.
it's exciting. I mean, because we're actually going to work on one for Podfest,
Oh, okay,
which
cool.
so I can do things like this. Is initially like, hey, register for Podfest, and then a month from now you'll have a reminder. Hey, don't forget, it's time to, book your hotel. Or if you don't want to book a hotel, I'll give you the link to Airbnb, and maybe I'll make sure it's for Orlando. So it's like we can continue to kind of feed through this notification reminder process additional things to build that FOMO. Hey,
That's
I'm going to
cool.
tell you about the different speakers, and each one of those relatables, I'm going to talk to you about, hey, this is who's going to speak. This is when they're going to speak. Put it on your calendar. So but the thing is I'm not having to put a link in, the text. I'm not necessarily having to worry about that. I can text it to you. I can email you. I can private message you. I'm starting to interact it with my email marketing because I'm seeing a much higher open rate with that as well as the click through. So I think I'm excited about it. That's one of the reasons why I'm working with Peter, because I just think this is a game changing way, and it's about building relationships, right? It's not
Hmm.
just one
And it's
sided.
not an avatar. It's actually you
Right,
speaking is what I
right,
saw on the video that I'm gonna try to
yes,
show. Okay.
right.
Let me see if I can. I'm gonna try to show it. I
All
just
right.
need to switch over this screen. Let's see if we can make it. I'm gonna make it be a display camera. I gotta fix a few things, y'all, because I didn't
Oh,
like
sure.
plan this. But I
Right,
think it's important because I think for people, a lot of folks in my field, at least, they want to see. Like, so what are you
right.
talking about, Jim? So we're gonna pull you up, and
Yep,
I'm gonna see. I don't know if you all can hear this, so I'm just going to try to
right.
see if it's the sound comes through. It should.
Hey everyone, looking forward to being on Tanya Smith's show, Stream Like a Boss, where we talk about human connection marketing, how I went from being a Marine vet.
Now I'm gonna ask you. So you just recorded this video,
Yep.
and then what can I do from here?
So what I did is so you can actually, I think in the upper right corner, you can share it. And so you could share that to your network, all those different ways. Um,
Okay.
so, and so that's one thing you can do. So if you close out of the share, just hit that back arrow there to the left. And you can actually fast forward this. So then people will see what we're talking about with so the first thing will come up is now this is the reminder system. Show. So the reminder's getting ready to pop up here in just a second. And so when they
Oh.
click that reminder, the first one was for tonight. The
Mm-hmm.
second one I had set up, and I learned, Peter and I learned a better way to do this in the future. But that will go, and if you want to click it, it'll show you. You can put it on either any of
Oh.
those calendars, right? I didn't have to ask for your email. You didn't have to opt in. So that'll go on your calendar. And then if you have a reminder, 30 minutes before, it'll pop up. And then if once you add it to the calendar, you just close out your calendar reminder, and then
Sweet.
and then and then you hit next after that you close that out,
Okay.
and then the video is going to continue, or it should. Hey guys, we had an amazing show last night. This is the one for I did another one talking about this is the people that missed the show.
That's
And then at the
cool.
end, if you scroll all the way to the end, they've got that top one is a link to the YouTube. And then the one down there is the link to the Relatable website if they want to learn more about Relatable.
Now that's pretty slick.
Yep.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I didn't expect that, but thanks. But I mean, literally, you can. So we have two options, right? You can do it with your phone because we have it where you basically have the app inside of your phone, or you can do it on your desktop. And so, as Peter likes to say, you can literally do it with your phone, thumb, and finger. We have AI built into it from the perspective of if you wanted to write you a script in your phone or even on the desktop, it's like you've got a teleprompter. You can read your script. You're able to add different features, and it's even if you think of it from the perspective of, and so if you want to look at this from a lead generation standpoint, even though we're more about demand generation, if I could record an hour video, and we have this ability to do what we call chapters.
Hmm.
And so if you picked A as an example, whatever choice A was, I can then tell Relatable, if they pick A, go to minute 25, right? If they pick B, go to minute 10. So even if I've messed up in the recording of my long video, I can
Hmm.
just jump you around to where I want you to go. I don't have to like redo the whole thing. And
And you get
so,
to pick according to what it is you're interested in learning more about, which I
yes,
like that idea.
yes,
Thus, the whole relationship and connection building, because it is driven by two things. It sounds like it's driven by what you've created and put together for the person, for the recipient, but then the consumer also gets to drive basically what information they view or see according to
hmm
the choices that they make on that screen. That's pretty
right.
cool. That's slick. I'm double checking. I'm going to ask this question. So if anybody has, oh, he said the video was much quieter than our voices. Okay.
Okay,
So my bad on that. So people couldn't hear it. I'm going to make
right.
sure that Jim is going to give us a link that you can go see though. So I'll make sure actually LinkedIn has that post, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I'll try to make sure to pull up that LinkedIn post so people can go and
Even
test it
even the
out.
one you shared, I think that when you shared it, if they
Yeah.
go down to the video, they can watch it.
Okay, cool. I'll find that. I'm going to pull that up so that people have access to it. Let me pull up a few comments. So we did see that comment from Chris. So thank you for telling us the video was way too quiet, so most people couldn't hear it. But we'll fix that. I want to learn about this company. I saw they are based in San Diego with Podfest coming out. I need a better way to capture info. Yeah,
Yep.
this could be a good one, Dan, because Dan's going to be speaking in January at the Podfest event.
Awesome. Awesome.
So that would be a good one for you, I think, too, Dan. Question. I love this question already. So, Jim, lots of people have lost trust in apps and videos where bad actors are just trying to get our info. What are ways that we can build trust with these videos? Excellent question.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I like about Relatable, or I should say love about Relatable, is so as an example, the video that I just shared, I didn't require you to give me anything, right? I'm just letting you add the information to your calendar. I want to build that trust. So we don't require people to give up any of their personal information. It's not until that they opt in that we're able to capture, as an example, the polling data. So that's where you need to build the trust, right? That's where you maybe have several videos before you say, okay, now that you've gotten to know me a little better, if you give me your email address, this is the benefit that you're going to get, right? The benefit is I'm going to be able to serve you better because based on your feedback, that's going to allow me to do things that will help you. I you can, if you decide you just want to do it by SMS text, that's an option. If you don't want to do an email list, because I think, to Chris's point, we are losing trust in a lot of these things because it's like, or right, the first thing you get is like, hey, if you want my free download, give me your email. And then next thing you know, you're getting bombarded about them trying to sell you all this stuff. It's like, all I wanted was the information.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a part of it. But I think it's about being honest. It's about being truthful. I think by being video, I think, is one of the best ways to communicate with people. You're seeing what we really look like. I mean, obviously, we've both, Tanya, run into people that in real life you're like, that's not what they're like, and
I'm being catfished. Like
right,
that
right,
person is not who they said they were.
yeah,
I think that I can see a use case for this. Tell me if I'm hitting it or if I'm not. But I can see potentially even creating a series of short videos that become, I don't know if they'll substitute, but they could replace the traditional email sequence for a welcome.
yes,
If I connected with somebody on LinkedIn, for instance, and maybe shared with them a little bit about who I am and thanks so much for connecting or accepting my invite.
yes,
Um, Here's a couple of things that I would love to know more about you so I know how to support you. And then maybe the next email or video is something else. And I
hmm
mean, I can see doing kind of a little bit of a back and forth. Does it give people an option to be able to respond? Because I see a note from Doug, which I'm definitely going to pop up in a second, a comment. But
yeah. So I had Gary Stockton when I did one of my first relatables. Like, I was doing a poll about which uh, live streaming software to use. And I had the ability for them to text me. So he texted me, and guess what? I texted him right back, right? So that is something that you can definitely do if you set it up to where that text is coming to your phone number. The one thing with SMS, as you probably know, is happening though, is if it's a more of a, I'll call it a large program, SMS type program, then you've got to like register it as a campaign or it won't work. But I've had a couple times like they're just texting me directly to my phone number, and then I will, be able to put them in my contacts, text them back, and say, hey, thanks for responding to my video, because I know that's where it came from.
yeah.
And so I think that's what I think is one of the really cool things that you can do. And then, to your point, you can embed the relatable into an email, as you saw the one I sent you, and you see, click the video.
Hmm.
So that's another option. I do a lot of want to call it direct messages type things, and one of the things is that literally you can make it as easy or complex as you want to, right? Like, I can sit there, pull my phone out, and I could be like, hey, Tanya, just wanted to say hello. Got some great things coming up. And here at the end, I'm going to share some links for you to check out. I add those links to the end, boom, it's done, right?
Yeah.
I mean, other than we do use right now YouTube to store the videos because that keeps costs down. But you basically bring in an unlisted YouTube link, and that's it, right? And then
And are
you've
you
got
connecting for the SMS? Are you connecting with Twilio or is it something else? Is it
no.
native?
I'm just using native text messaging.
Okay. But for people
Yeah,
who are doing like the large campaigns that have to go through the registration process, is that possibly Twilio or something else?
I would have to ask Peter. I think he does use Twilio, but
Okay.
I use 8x8, and I can register it with, because it's basically just asking you, in your case, right? as the builder, because that's what we call ourselves, is put your number in there.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as your phone provider allows for you to do that, it'll work. So you don't have to go out and buy like an extra feature. But I've just used my personal cell number a couple times. No
Okay.
problems.
And it's easy for people to opt out, I'm assuming, too.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because these days. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Let me pop some things up in here. Virginia, it is wonderful to see you. Pleasant evening to you too. Let's see. I think there was a question. As a parent of young children, we are very limited in our capacity to sit down on our computer and create a bunch of videos. Is there a justifier that makes this a need? I think I have an answer, but I'm going to have you weigh in first.
Well, first of all, you don't need to sit down at your computer. That's one of the beauties. I can do it on my phone. I can do everything on my phone. So, I've done some 1-minute videos. It's really, what do you want it to do? So even if you think of LinkedIn messaging, right? You can record a video on there and send it to a person, but I would much rather have a little bit more context to what is going on with the video I send. So I think, we're not necessarily for everybody, but we're for those people that see how the power of video and making that human connection can help you move your business forward. So we know we're not for everyone. I mean, some of the challenges we've run into is, I'll just say, some people about my age or older, they don't like to do video. So I'm not going to sit there and try to convince them to do it. And I think, I think that's how you have to look at it.
I've definitely gotten to that place of recognizing that there are going to be people who I used to try to just pull them along, like, come on,
Hmm.
you can do it. And now I'm like, no, I'm going to talk to the people who actually recognize video already as a gift, as a powerful tool. Those are the people that I tend to draw to me.
Hmm.
And I'm comfortable with that, and they are too. And for those who don't want to do videos, I have other resources I can refer them
Right.
to. I love an app called Vocal
Mm.
email that is really simple, and you just get on your phone or not even your phone, your desktop, wherever you are, leave a voicemail message. But to your point, also, Dan, I think the cool thing to me about this, it sounds like it's kind of versatile because you could do a bunch of videos if you wanted to. Or you could strategically say, I'm just going to share this video with this connection that I made this week and do one. I mean, am I wrong on that? Can
Yeah,
you use it
absolutely.
however you want to use it?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, I think there's power in choice with tools like this. Yeah, Doug loves the two-way interaction of this video tool. That's cool.
Right.
What's up, JP High Tech in the house? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Breaking it
JP's
down
awesome.
in layman's terms. I know, right? Doug Layman, the Doug,
The
the
Doug, yes.
layman's terms. Oh, Dan, you didn't have to like put me out on blast about sessions, okay? Yeah, we all know what happened to that. What are some examples of how people could use this for their podcast? Chris Stone asked.
And I didn't ask Chris to ask this question, just to be
He's a plant.
to be he's a plant. So this is how we're using the reminders tool. Let's say, for an example, you're going to release your podcast. So you put that video out, however you're connecting with your current audience. It's like, hey guys, we're really excited. We've got our latest podcast episode is going to come out on Friday. So I'm going to have a reminder set up, and you could do a couple of things. That reminder, because I learned this from Chris, that link could be the link that when they open it goes to their favorite podcast player, right? It doesn't have to be Apple Podcast. So then it's on their calendar, right? Whichever calendar tool they want. And then as you continue the video, you could then say, I would like to, we'll send you a reminder after it's posted, in case you weren't able to watch it that day. And then maybe in that video, you start to ask for that feedback, right? Or you start to say, did you listen to the episode? What did you think? Right?
Hmm.
Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Do you have some friends that might want to learn about it? Right? Tell them how they can share the podcast. Because I think the challenge we have in general with email, not to say that email is a bad thing, is I get a lot of emails that I don't get to.
True.
But if I can get people to start to say, you know, I can even ask, would you like me to text you when we have an upcoming podcast? Now I can text that relatable, and the relatable will have a title, right? It'll say, you know, episode, if you choose, you make the title whatever you want it to be. It could be episode, 23 of whatever your show could be. And so I think that's a big part of it, by being able to add other resources within that video, whether it's a link to the guest socials, whether it's a link to something the guest was giving away, can all be put within that relatable video. And so I think when people are struggling to build their audience, that's where we see relatable as a great way to grow your podcast audience.
I like that you're using the power of a tool like this to go beyond the traditional ways and to like kind of be separate from the normal noise. I think
Right.
that's kind of what I'm hearing. And also, we kind of have to do that right now
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know that I have ever in the history of my living, which has been a while, over half a century now. I don't know that I have heard so many people, everybody and their mother and mailman has a podcast right now
Right. Right.
or something. They have a TV show, everybody's got something. So, in order for you to stand out and to really get the word out, you do need to use non traditional methods. What better way than to use something that allows you to interact with people, which I'm a big fan, Jim, of using interactive tools,
Mm-hmm.
especially video, when it comes to email. As a matter of fact, I really have been overhauling my entire email system over the past like week because I really want to do more personal connection.
Yes. Yes. Agree with you 100%. And I mean, and even in the future, we may build something in that allows for more personalization if you are sending it out to a group of people. And the other thing too, one of the beauties of it is, and this kind of goes back to, the question from Dan was, Dan, you can create these relatables that are, if you want to call it by generic meaning at the beginning, right? Like I wouldn't say, hey, hey Tanya. It'd be like, hey, I got a great show for you to check out. I can reuse that video because I can change the link, right? All I got to do is change the link. So it's, in some cases, it's making that video one time and then deciding, in a sense, what do I want to put inside of it to drive traffic.
I'm chuckling a little bit again over here because let me see. First of all, Radiance by Retilia, thank you for reminding folks to smash the like button. And I'm so glad that you're enjoying and hearing about Relatable and meeting Jim. Dan said, I feel like this episode should be titled Romancing the Stone. You are so hilarious. Much respect, cast ahead, Chris Stone, 100%. Yvette C. Lee Music, getting back into the thick of things. I know, hun, I'm so sorry for your loss. She recently lost her spouse. And so just want to send you some love and let you know that I'm thinking of you and praying for you. Dan says, makes sense. Thanks, Jim.
Awesome.
Yes, yes. If anybody else has questions for us about this relatable thing or any topics in regards to digital marketing and social, help me understand, Jim, where are you right now as it relates to digital? Are you feeling kind of like icky about digital marketing space and where it's going? Or do you feel really excited and hopeful? What's your thought?
That's that you're making me have to think. I'm concerned about almost the overabundance of AI tools. I think it's good as a helper, but I think that these folks that are wanting to, make their own video avatar to do things for them. And that's one of the things that Peter and I have talked about. As an example, if I got a video from you, Tanya, that was um, an avatar, and then when I found out later that that wasn't really you when I met you for real, I'd be upset. I'm like, wait, it's kind of like you said earlier, you catfished me. I thought that was really you. And
Right.
and so I think if it's almost to that perspective of, if you can't take the time to be real, then why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there is no such thing as an easy button. You know, everything we do takes work. And, when people see, what an amazing show you have, how you set everything up, it didn't happen overnight, right? You had to work at it. You still work at it, right? You
Yeah.
haven't like said, I'm there, right? We constantly have to be reevaluating stuff. And so the concern I have with AI is that I think it makes us lazy. It makes us forget how to think, how to problem solve, because we're throwing it into a computer and assuming that it's
Mm-hmm.
correct. And people talk about fact checking. Well, who's fact checking the Chat GPT?
Mm-hmm.
But I do think on the flip side, I am excited about what could be occurring in digital marketing, because even from the perspective of, you know, 8, 9 years ago, I would have never imagined that we could be doing what we're doing right here. I think that the barrier to entry has lowered. I
Yes.
think, Chris Krimitsos was in Atlanta. I think he may technically still be here if he hasn't left yet. And so we had a Podfest meetup, and he was showing how, I think this was as of April, 39% of podcasts were being consumed on YouTube as
Mm-hmm.
video podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And so people, I mean, and granted, like, people could be listening to us even though we're on video right now, but they can still listen. So, but having the visual aspect, I think, is powerful, because I think it's that whole thing from a sensory perspective. It really builds connection that audio can't do quite as well. And even sometimes, right, whether it's audio, whether it's, we'll call it text, we don't always get the context. We don't see the facial
Yeah.
expressions, right? That's always been my issue with text messaging, right? You don't
Mm-hmm.
know the perspective of, what does that text mean? Is it meant in, fear? Is it meant in, comedy? And
Yeah.
if you take it the wrong way, it causes problems that wouldn't have happened if you had been face to face.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think that's how I look at it. I think we have things coming that we're not even aware of. I mean, virtual reality, augmented reality, I think are fascinating. But I also think, and one of the things I see dealing in the veteran space with some of the volunteer stuff I do, the older generation is not going to change.
Yeah.
They've dug their heels in. They don't want to learn about smartphones. They don't, I think some of it is a trust issue for them to
Yeah.
begin with. So we're not going to get them to be putting, Apple Vision Pros and Oculus Quest 3s on their head to have conversations. So I think that's where we're going to maybe have, and actually, Peter talks about this. So we're the uh, we're the native analogs, right? We grew up before all this technology was a thing, where our kids and our, grandkids, they're the native digitals. They grew up with these devices
They
as just
did.
a part of their daily life. So
Mm-hmm.
I think, that's where we're going to see things change. I mean, it's fascinating to me, though, even when we look at how tech is being used, whether it's, shopping, whether it's, you know, you can order something on Amazon and it shows up at your door the same. That's crazy, you know?
Which we have
Uh,
now been trained that if it
yes,
doesn't come in 24 hours,
right?
then
Must
we're
be
like
something wrong with it.
raving mad. Yeah, because it should be here. Like it's supposed to be here tomorrow.
Right,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
So
definitely
yes.
training. So even if I would say this, Jim, to add to what you just said, even if there are those who won't come along for the ride, they're even being trained. They're entrenched in the culture of automation, digital marketing, tech, even elderly folks who I know probably never ever would have been on something like a Facebook or on Facebook.
Hmm.
They are ordering information or ordering their medical supplies
Right.
online. They're
Right.
actually signing up for Zelle. I can't tell you. I would tell a story, but I don't want to embarrass her. But someone near and dear to me, it was like, okay, so yeah, you probably shouldn't send a check. It's probably best not to send a check. Can you Zelle it? What? What's that?
Hmm.
Like, but once I got her into it, she's like, oh, well, I'm Zelling everybody. So I'm going to send for every birthday. That's how you're getting money. So,
What?
yeah, I think,
Yeah. Well, that's a great point. I mean, even from the perspective of how many times do you actually write a check anymore? How many times do you get a check? And, you know, unfortunately, the U.S. mail has had its issues of late, at least down here in Atlanta. They're on the news all the time about losing mail. So it's like, is that how you want to rely on receiving and sending payments when
right.
there's better ways to do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you have the check washers.
There's just so
You're,
much. Look, earlier today, I had to cancel my debit card, because somebody made a charge on it. And the bank
you too,
sent
right?
me these emergency notes and was like, is this you? No, that's not me. I did
I
not
had the
do
same
that.
I had the same thing happen 2 weeks ago. It's like the 3rd time in the last year. I'm really getting frustrated with it.
See, so everyone, regardless of generation, we're getting pulled in whether we want to or not.
Mhm.
My concern is twofold. First of all, I'm pretty savvy. So my goal from the beginning, like 20 years ago, was I'm always going to be 2, 3 steps ahead of my kids. Like, I want to make sure I know what they're into, because I'm just kind of controlling like that. But also I'm very protective.
Sure.
Very. But I think that my concern is that on the end of the elderly parents, that they're being taken advantage of in the digital
Mhm.
space.
Yep.
Because my father-in-law, at some point, somebody reached out and said he was on his computer, he's doing his Bible research or whatever he was doing, and somebody pops up this screen and says, call this number, you've been hacked. And
Mhm.
so he calls the number and he's giving these people information. He's thinking he's getting help to fix a problem. So I have
Right.
concern with that on that end. And then I definitely have concern for our children, because this whole interpersonal connection we've been talking about, this human connection, my fear is that they won't know what that's like,
Yes.
because they're so stuck on their screens that they
Yep.
don't go outside. Like we used to be told, go outside and play. You go
Right.
meet friends,
Right.
because you got to get out this house and go play.
Be home by dark.
Right. But
That
they
don't
don't.
happen anymore.
No, they're on their phones and they're talking to each other on their phones all day and all night. And
Right.
I have concerns about this at a lot of different angles. Anyway, I could talk all night about that, but yeah. What do we
Well,
do? How do we make sure that the next generation knows what human to human connection even is? How do we do that, Jim? And I don't know
I
if you
I
have an
think I
answer.
think we have to well, I think we have to force it in a sense. We almost have to take a step back. I think, you're starting to see, which I think is a good thing, that some of these schools are not allowing kids to phones into the classroom. They're locking them up, and I always find it funny because, you know, back when we grew up, Tanya, there were no cell phones, or I guess when they did finally exist, right? They were about like this big.
Yeah, you
So,
held it on your head like this.
yeah, yeah. So, we're requiring them to, actually have to talk and use their brain. They can't use their phone to ask, for answers. So I think that's a good thing. I think one of the concerns I have though as well with younger kids is that it's almost like it can become a bullying thing. It's like, "Oh, you don't have a cell phone or
Yeah.
a tablet? What's wrong with your family?" And it's like, that's that's unfortunate, and I
Hmm.
think we have to create for, I guess, lack of a better term, a safe space where it's like, "Look, we're gonna make you talk to each other, right? You gotta sit there in person, talk, learn how to communicate." Because I mean, I know at times, and I think, fortunately, my adult children have all learned. It's like, mom and dad aren't always going to be there to tell the person what you want. You need to tell them. And I used to do that to my kids sometimes. Like, Dad, it's like, no, you're going to go up and talk to the person and tell them what it is that you need because I'm
Yeah.
not always going to be there for them. So I think we have that challenge where we got to help these educators uh, be able to get these kids to communicate in real terms or in layman's terms.
Hey, Doug,
Um,
shout out.
so because I think that I'm definitely concerned about that, and especially right, I guess you could say being a grandpa now, it's like, okay, I want to make sure that he communicates, right? I don't want to see him playing video games all the time. I want him, getting outside. If he comes to visit for the summer, so if my daughter's watching, she's going to learn now. He's probably not going to get to spend a lot of time on stuff unless I'm teaching him how to live stream. So that's how I look at it. We're going to go out and do things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's this one, I'll share this. My daughter played in Denmark for a summer. She did the Gothia Cup. So she was in Denmark and in Sweden. And when we went to Denmark, my youngest daughter and I went out there to go, see the games and all that. And one of the things that struck me as really interesting is very different than America, very different than our next generation American kids. Those kids over there, they were sitting around a fireplace and talking. And none of them had phones. Like they didn't have, and they didn't care. They weren't trying to use a phone to communicate. They just enjoyed each other. And there's
That's
a bunch of
awesome.
stuff that came from that. One day I'll have to do a live about that. But it was like so refreshing. And the kids who were there from America and other similar countries like ours were just in awe. Like, well, you're not even, like, you're not doing anything with electronics. You're just talking. Like, you're talking outside near a fire. Hmm.
Right. Right.
But it was so neat. And they were so just relaxed. And I think about some of the stress levels that I see with our kids here. And I wonder, does it have to do with a lot of that connection? At the same time, there's great things that come from it. So I think I love the time that we're in, Jim. I love that you were able to introduce Relatable and to talk about that didn't exist 5 years ago, did it?
No, no, it literally it's, less than a year old.
So that's a plus that we can now maybe leverage technology to help us to do the things that we still need to continue to do and to have that human interaction and engagement. It just may be in a different way.
Mhm.
Maybe that's the plus side.
Right, right.
Hmm. I'm going to pop a couple of comments up here. I could talk with you all night because this is an interesting topic. So, great point, Jim, with the substitution of AI. Very scary in her old world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be. It can be a little. It's interesting. I see a question. Is it better to do live or a pre-recorded podcast? You have a thought on that?
I don't think that there is a right answer. I think it's what works for you. I think it's better that you do your podcast as opposed to making an excuse of, well, I can't do it because my schedule doesn't allow it. We were going to go live, but now we can't. If you get it out there, I think that's the most important thing. And in some cases, maybe you don't want or need that interaction. I mean, I'm sure it's a challenge for you as well sometimes. Tanya, is like, I've had guests that are in Australia, right, or in
Mm-hmm.
England, and so that time difference, maybe it would be better to record it and
Yeah.
play it as if it was live because you know having the lady from Annette McDonald from Of course, now I'm blanking on the name of her software.
Hmm.
At 3 o'clock in the morning, because it's 2 o'clock our time. But she did it. So I think there's nothing wrong with pre-recording, and I would probably think a lot of podcasts are pre-recorded because they're wanting to fix the audio, make sure everything is done that way. I think though by even recording it as a video podcast, you can take some of that video and repurpose it. Which shout out to my friend Chris Stone, who does amazing job with repurposing of video from podcasts. So I think just get it done. That's to me the number one thing. So and maybe you go live once in a while, right? Yeah, easel. That's it. Uh, it's maybe you go live once a month, and then the others are recorded, so you can build that community. Because that's the other thing about Relatable. Our goal is to build community, or for you to build a community with the people that you're interacting with. So I think
Yeah.
that's what it's more about, as opposed to vanity metrics.
The other thing I think about this tool, as well as any decisions you're making when it comes to digital marketing and the space of tools, AI, all of this stuff, it's there as a tool. So you get to look at your life, Yvette, and say, my life allows me to do X, and therefore this tool is going to fit into my life. So don't let these tools and platforms run you. You're
Amen.
incorporating it into your real life. And so whenever people ask me about that pre-recorded versus live, same answer you gave, Jim, that it really is up to you. You get to do it however you choose to. You get to pick your own journey and make it what it should be for you and for the people that you're serving. So, as much as I love live stream and I can talk about live streaming all day long, I know that there's power in pre recorded videos. And there are, like you said, sometimes when people say, yeah, so I'm in Australia or I'm wherever, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning here. Okay, no problem. We'll do a pre recorded and then I can still feed it through my live stream feed.
Hmm. Yeah.
Or I can just put it out there as a pre recorded video. I get to do what works for me and for my business. And you get to do the same, which I think is beautiful. Yeah, I think Chris makes a really good point too, which is why it's another reason why I love live
Yes.
because I was so sold on I got to make sure it's perfect before it goes out, so nothing ever went out
Right.
because it was
Well,
never
and
perfect.
if you think about it too, I mean, you can go back and look at some of my original Tim and Jim shows with my friend Tim Sohn. So it just to let you know, there's hope for you too out there in the studio audience. If you haven't gone on video yet, we all started at a different place, because I didn't grow up as like this video guy doing video all the time. And I don't know, maybe you did, Tanya, but I
Nope.
didn't. And but you can learn it, right? That's the whole thing. I've seen this commercial recently, not to say that I'm going to do this, maybe Chris Stone will, where it's like I think it's a financial planning thing, but the guy is practicing to do comedy 30 years from now, right? Where he's going to be doing improv. And so you think about it, right? In the last 8 years, I've gotten into digital marketing. I didn't know anything about digital marketing 8 years ago, but to me, it's about continuously learning, right? People are learning the pros and cons of AI. People are learning, the pros and cons of, podcasting, live streaming. How does a business use video? Because I think, and I don't know if you run the same thing, there's still a ton, and I mean a ton, of businesses that are not using video. And where I think that's a mistake is that I don't always know what you do.
Yeah.
And so even if you just do some short videos, and I, encourage people to put them on YouTube, because people will start searching and then they'll start to find out, oh, that's what this company does. That's the service I need.
Mm-hmm.
Because unfortunately, I think in some aspects, the days of word of mouth don't happen as much, because kind of what we've been talking about. people aren't going out and meeting each other out in public to talk about things, or you're finding that what I've found as a challenge, as an example in local networking, is I'm not in the right room, right?
Yeah.
These are not the people that need my services. So, and because of the power of the internet, same with you, I can work with somebody anywhere.
Yep.
So it makes more sense to focus your time on where you think your audience is, as opposed to, it's that thing I used to hate when I was in the military. Well, that's the way we've always done it. Well, that's why a lot of these businesses are not doing well, because they're still doing things the old way, not adjusting to the new way. I mean,
That's right.
whether it's customer service, whether it's how you're meeting the needs of your clients, those are the things that you've got to constantly be, how can I get better, and not just relax.
Yeah. Many of us know the story of Blockbuster.
Hmm.
Blockbuster Video
Yep.
could have been positioned and just didn't move the needle. Instead, hey, we're
Yep.
going to keep doing it this way because that's the way people want it. No, they don't want that anymore. How are you going to do it differently so you can survive? And we have to do the same. We have to think about, no matter how much we might long for some of the olden days, those days are long gone. It's time for us to adjust and adapt and to use some of these powerful tools for good and to really help support the next generation, not just our current generation, but the next generation too. That's always top of mind for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I need to share your website because I know we're at the top of the
Yeah.
hour.
All right.
So I'm going to share. This is where you can find Jim. I'm going to like type this in here so that people can actually see it because I didn't have that up for you and I apologize. But
Oh, no problems.
here, find Jim at beacons.ai. So all of his really super important links are on this page right here, beacons.ai/fusion marketing.
And even though I've jumped out of a perfectly good airplane when I was in the Marines, that's not actually me hang gliding over the ocean, just so people know.
Look, my daughter skydives. She's done,
Nice.
I think it's like 16 jumps so far. So,
Nice.
yeah. But that's hard on your knees. So if you don't
Yeah.
land properly, oops, I didn't mean to put that on me. Let me let me pop this really quick note up. If anybody else has a quick comment or just share a little bit of love with Jim, that would be awesome. And then we're going to go ahead and close this thing out. But Yvette said it's easy to hide behind a keyboard. Yep. But being in front of the mic, eye to eye, and talking will be different for you. Yes, but you can do it. You can do it. And she also said Cobb County, Georgia.
That's right.
Cool.
Home of the Braves.
What's up? I think Yvette is in that same area too.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Well, Jim, anything that you want to leave the people with, whether it's in relation to digital marketing, I'm going to pop your guest web or your website up one more time. Anything that you want to leave folks with in terms of tips or thoughts?
I think the biggest thing is don't be afraid to take that first step. And you're going to find that much more people are going to be supportive of you, as opposed to against you. And the other thing you may find sometimes, it's those people that you're currently surrounded with that are going to be the ones that try to hold you back. So don't be afraid to let go of the baggage, so to speak, and be, make your life what you want it to be.
I love it. That is excellent advice. Thank you so much for your service, Jim. Thank you for hanging out with me a little bit tonight, probably a little longer than I expected for you to, but I
Oh,
hope
no
that's
problem.
okay.
This is fun. Love it.
And I thank everybody for coming and hanging out with us too. Feel free to watch the replay. So if you are watching via replay, type in #replay so I know and I can come back and acknowledge you. And also, if you've got questions, if there's comments, if you want to leave a little love for us, please feel free to do so by liking, following, and subscribing. Yes, I see some hearts right there. Thank you, Chris Stone. And thank you for
Yes,
those
sir.
questions as well. We appreciate you. And one more time, let me pop this up so that you can follow Jim and find out more about Relatable as well as the Dealcasters podcast on Amazon. Bendable is the shareable list of things that Jim recommends, and he has got some other information here on the page as well. And I wonder, do you have a relatable like video that's on this site too, Jim?
Yes, if you click that, I think the relatable link
Right here?
might be that, yeah, and
Okay.
I gotta put another one. Yep, it
Ah,
is.
perfect. Okay. So that way, folks, you can go and find out more about the relatable tool. So go to the website that you see right here and click on the one that says relatable and then tap, and you can get an experience of what relatable is all about. I love it. Thank you once
Yep.
again, Jim. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. All right.
Yep.
I'm going to close this out. Um, y'all, make sure you show some love for Jim and make sure you follow, go check him out. Thank you for all the kind comments. Thank you, Erica, for saying it's a great conversation. Thank you, Radiance by Ratilia. Everybody who's been here, we appreciate you and your questions. And I just want to let you know that I'm here usually, I'm going to say most Thursdays. And I will be back next Thursday with another live stream show. So come back and check us out at Stream Like a Boss TV. Now, because you were here tonight and you actually saw a show, even if this is your first time, you now are officially an OG. So make sure that the next time when I ask at the beginning of the show, which one do you fall into? Are you a newbie or OG? You get to put hashtag OG because you're family now. We appreciate you and we will see you next time in the stream. Stay relatable. Remember all these human to human connection things we've been talking about. That's so important for you and for those who are in your circle of influence. Take care.